Sawadika, good day to everyone, especially to our Professor Ledesma. Good day to you, sir, and to all my fellow classmates. Good day to everyone. I hope you have a wonderful day. Today, I am tasked to report about conflict resolution. So let's begin, and before I go further, let me introduce myself. I am again Noah Cancio, um, the reporter of the day. So, what is conflict? When we talk about conflict, but before that, the subtopics of my report would be the definition of conflict, levels and types of conflicts, then examples of common conflicts in school, and how to respectively manage them. So here comes the definition of conflict. Conflict is a disagreement, often violent, between two or more opposing individuals or groups. So when we talk about conflict, there should be an opposing individuals. There should be another party into it. Okay? That is the very definition of conflict. Somebody who has an opposing maybe think or thinking. No? So that's it. Then conflict can also be defined as incompatibility, no? As in two things that cannot be accomplished at the same time. For instance, having two lectures scheduled to happen at the same time. So, by this definition, incompatibility, there should be like you could not have a schedule or a lecture two lecture at the same time, no? That is why when we are still in college, we are looking at our schedule and trying to find or trying to look at it if we have conflict schedules or not. Okay? So even in masters, we need to look at if our schedule is conflict with our subjects, no, the subjects that we took. So something like that. So it is an opposing. We could not, the very definition is we could not do two things at the same time. Otherwise, there will be decisions to make, no? So that in itself is a conflict. Now, conflict is an inevitable part of life, so we could not avoid it, no? It is part and parcel of our life, meaning in one way or the other, we all must experience conflict at the same point. So, when we talk about conflict, it is not only happening with the opposing teams, no? When we talk about conflict, even in ourselves, we have our own conflicts. What to do and what not to do. What is right and what is wrong. That is in itself a conflict. We need to decide. How much more our students, no? So we ourselves should should know what is conflict for us to guide our students also. Now, what we should teach to our students, no? What are the values that we need to, and vice versa. So how are we going to give grades to this, no? How are you going to decide on things? What to eat, what not to eat? Even in our love life or right, in the love life, we need to decide. So in itself, it's a conflict. Nobody can avoid it. Okay? The moment we wake up in the morning, so we have already having this struggles within us. What to do next? What are we going to do? So by that questions, there would always be a point in time that you need to decide what you must do first, no? Then the way we raise up by our respective community. We therefore have acquired different but specific way of dealing with a situation in a particular way in reference to belief, ideas, and opinions. And that is very true. Now, when we talk about conflict, there would always be we differ in opinions. Okay? There would be different in opinions. Like if I am a Christian and you are a Muslim, and we have different way. We eat pork, you don't eat pork. And why we don't, why we eat and why you don't. And if we keep on fighting about it, then that's a conflict in itself. No? So that is why belief, no, our own perspectives, our own ideas, again, is also part of the conflicts within us, within our communities, within our societies. So I hope you are still getting the point of what is conflict is. Now, therefore, conflict emerges when we are faced with a challenge in a totally different scenario that are not used to, or that we are not used to, right? Hence, the way of the handling similar case traditionally may not apply. So there are different ways and approaches on how to deal with conflicts, and it is up to us, no, on how we are going to handle them, no. So that is all so much for the conflict. Now we go to resolution. So what is resolution then? Okay, when we talk about resolution, it is a process of solving a conflict. A process of solving a conflict. So this is how we are going to solve a conflict, no? By making a resolution, by making a way how to manage, okay, how to handle situations, especially in our students, no? How to give solutions to them, okay? How to guide them to solve their own conflicts in life. So that is a very big thing to us as an educator, because our students are looking upon us on how we are going to guide them, because they are still young in their minds, so they need guidance. Now, we as an educator, we supposed to know how to give solutions, knowing the fact that I think, correct me if I am wrong, we already undergo such experience, no? Kumbaga, we have more experience in solving or managing conflicts in our lives. So we are more experienced, no? Kumbaga, we are more experienced. So we are here to guide them, to teach them the proper way of how to solve or how to manage conflict, because most of the time this will lead our students, no, if they could not solve a conflict within them, this would lead to stress, and eventually they will be stressed, and they will have, anxieties in life, and at the end of the day you will just heard that, oh, they committed suicide already, something like that. So our role as educators, as second parents, are very important to our learners. So what is conflict resolution then? So conflict resolution is finding a way to solve a conflict. No? So, levels and types of conflicts. There are two levels of conflicts, and in each level, there are types of conflicts. Okay? So, at the individual, or the first level is the individual level. So, there is what we call individual level. In individual level, there are two kinds: intrapersonal and interpersonal conflicts. Again, in the first level, what we call individual level, there would be intrapersonal conflicts and interpersonal conflicts. The other kinds of conflicts would be the group level. Now, in the group level, there is also what we call intragroup conflicts and intergroup conflicts. I hope you are getting the point, no? In the group level, there are two: intragroup and intergroup conflicts. So what are these? Intrapersonal conflict, we go back, intrapersonal conflict refers to conflict within an individual. So, yourself, within yourself, no? So, your own problem, your own dilemmas in life, how you make decisions, no? This experience take place in a person's mind, no? It is psychological, involving values, thoughts, principles, emotions. Okay? For example, choosing a career course. A child is deciding whether to call it a mug or a cup. Psychomatic disorder like hand going numb before a war. Something like that, okay? I hope you are still getting the point, no? So when we talk about intrapersonal, it is the conflict within ourselves, within yourselves, no? You have 50 pesos. What are you going to buy? Are you going to buy a lottery tickets, or you are going to buy a rice for you to have something to eat? So in itself, the decision making is a conflict. You could not buy lottery ticket at the same time buy rice. Otherwise, your money would not be enough or sufficient, right? Something like that. So that is more intrapersonal. Your love making, your love life is an intrapersonal. It is within yourself, no? How you are going to handle it. So again, and this type of conflict, no, the interpersonal conflict can be quite difficult to handle if in case a person cannot resolve his own inner struggles, hence causing severe depressions. That is why, my dear teachers, classmates, no, we need to understand our student, especially in times of pandemic. It is because some of them could not manage it, no? Some of them could not comprehend, or some of them could not make a good decisions. Now we need to guide them. Otherwise, we all heard in televisions about depressions going on. There are a lot of students who committed suicide already because they could not cope up with the situations, and also with some teachers who are being depressed and hung themselves. So we need to understand the situations, and we need to help each other for us to combat this what we call intrapersonal conflict. We need to walk hand in hand. We supposed not to be single-minded, that we only believe on ourselves and we don't care about others. No. So in the intrapersonal, we need to be more aware of what is happening around. Okay? Especially to our students, no? Now, dealing with inner conflict, no? Empower oneself, make positive change in life, individual counseling. So, as a teacher, we are all counselors, no? We counsel. We give advices to our students, no? Of course, for ourselves, we need to empower our own self. That is why we can do it, no? If others can do, why I cannot do, no? Why I can't? So we can do positive changes, no? Either you grow, you matured in your way of thinking, no? In life. Okay, if you are playful before, now you change, you are more serious now. So something like that. That is more in interpersonal. Now let's go to interpersonal. The interpersonal conflict between two individuals. So in the interpersonal, there is now your opponent, other group, other person. Uh, no, there are different opinions. This normally occurs because individual differences, no? Every person is unique in his own way, including identical twins. Now, even twins, they have their own unique way, own unique characters. So, as we go on, that is why most of us could not, jive together. I have this idea, you have this idea, and we just explode each other and fight each other, and that's it. Even in family life, no, even in our children, more so in our students. Especially we ask them to group 1, group 2, something like that. So how are we going to do that, right? So it is very important that um, we need to guide them, no, in making the right decisions. That is why group works are very important. At the same time, we need to guide them and watch over them. Otherwise, they could not do anything else because they are just busy on fighting about ideas, which ideas are right, no? Ironically, these differences are the ones responsible for facilitating personal growth and relationship with another or with others, no? So that is why most of us, we want our students to be group. Why? Because at the end of the day, when they are in group, it's so sometimes easy for them to face these or to battle these struggles within them. The decisions, no? Uh, the majority votes, of course, there would always be, and it helps them to progress in their ideas, in their thinkings. No, that is the positive thing. No? Dealing with interpersonal conflict, each party should adjusting his own qualities so as to include the other, no, or the other one. A mediator can really help it to comes to such modifications. So there should be always two party, no, two party. Each one should adjust uh, own qualities, no. Dapat hindi lahat bossing. Dapat may passive din, no. Uh, kung sino ang dapat sundin, kung ano ang dapat sundin. So that's very important. So we are done with inter and intrapersonal conflict. Now we go to intra-group conflict. So what is this? Conflict within a group. Okay? Intra-group conflict is a conflict within a group among group members, for instance, with for instance is the ODM members find during their own internal elections, no? So this group They have their own, like, voting for a leader, for instance. No, we ask them to make a group and they need to choose their leaders. Then that is an example of intergroup conflict. They need to choose who will be their leader. Now, in a school scenario, in a classroom scenario, you ask your student to vote for an officers for section 1. That in itself a conflict, and we call that intra-group conflict. Okay. Now, dealing with intergroup conflict, how we're going to deal them. Group leader is the only hope. Therefore, it is important that the group leader doesn't choose side and use his intelligence to resolve the matter peacefully. Because if he fails, the group will lose her members and eventually collapse. That is why when we ask our student to vote for their president, the president should be somewhat a fighter, no? Yung may boses talaga, kasi otherwise kung yung president na binoto uto-uto, na ano mangyari sa klase? Walang kwenta, no? I have an experience to that. So for an example, in my class, if I can sense that their president is not really working and they're not afraid of their president, then I change the president. Why? Because it is useless to have a puppet president. No, we could not move forward. There is no progress. A president supposed to be the head of the class when there is no teacher. Now, if the president is the number one buluyagon or pasaway, then what is the use of the president? Something like that. Like if you have sergeant of arm in the classroom, but it is not functioning, then what's the use of that? No, something like that. So that is how we must deal with this conflict within our students inside the classrooms. Okay, for them to be more respectful, they supposed to have a good leaders in themselves. Okay, so something like. Now, intergroup conflict. This conflict between or among different groups within an organization. For instance, after new constitution was inaugurated, the Senate and the MCAs were established, keeping in mind that there were the MPs, so there was a fight among all these officers pertaining duties as to who should do what. This was a big challenge, and as a result, common Kenyans could get quality services as they deserve. So that is in Kenya, and that are the parties, no? Who will manage this? Who will do this? No, something like. Now, if we put that in our classrooms, no? So, as we face on the new normals, we will have face-to-face class, but for instance, in trade, we are being told that if that would happen, then half of the students would have different, in the morning or in this MWF subject, or the next one is TTHS. That's how. Now, there are now two groups, no? So how are we going to manage them? Who will decide of who? Something like that. So there would always be who will do the things. Now, aside for an example, in trade, there is what we call the morning group and the evening group. Now, who will clean the room? No, and all of them are saying that the morning class should clean the room, and of course the morning would say the evening class would clean the room. Something like that. There would always be a struggles. Then how we're going to deal with them? No, something like. Commonly, these groups fight because they are different, and also it is a competitions fighting for fame and popularity. Now, aside for an example, the section A and the section B, they would always have competition for them to prove who is the best among, especially in mga performances, no? Who will win. And for those winners, they think they are already above, something like that. Somewhat, this conflict is for power. Who is more powerful? Section A, Section B. Who is more intelligent? Section A, Section B. And something like that. Okay? Dealing with intergroup conflict, when such a conflict draws back the organization's productivity, then the conflict management should come up with solution fast, as prevention is always better than cure. To prevent such intergroup conflict, there should be a clear understanding of the institution's rules, regulations, and bureaucracy. So, cite for an example, in ABS-CBN GMA conflict, there should be always the rules that they supposed to be in this area only, and they could not go beyond that. Otherwise, they will be penalized, something like so. Same as in our classes. So there should be a limit on up to when they're going to fight within each others, no, within each team. Because if they would not do that, then there would be sanctions. So rules and regulations or laws that we have are very important to battle or to combat this what we call intergroup conflict. Okay? Conflicts are natural, or conflicts are a natural part of human interaction. So it is normal. No, people who doesn't experience conflict within them is somewhat abnormal. They are not normal people, because as what I have told you, conflict is within us also. The moment we wake up and before we go to sleep, there would always this conflict within us. Okay? Part of human interactions, people in conflicts, whether at the individual or group level, perceive that their goal or interests are contradicted by the goals or interests of other parties. The formal termination of such conflict begins with the elimination of the perceived incompatibility between the opposing parties through negotiations by their representatives, that is, a conflict resolution process. But this is only part of a long-term reconciliation process which requires the formation of peaceful relations based on mutual trust and acceptance, cooperation, and consideration of mutual needs. So we need to inculcate in our students the what we call mutual trust. Trust each other. No? Acceptance. Accept all ideas. No? And cooperate to what is going on, so that there would no conflict within. Yung flow is easy, straight. Kasi kapag may opinion dito, opinion doon, and you don't trust the person, then how could you relate? Or how could you say something? Then you will just fight. Okay? So, consideration is very important. Be considerate. You are not the only intelligent. Others also, they have their own ideas. No? Then all of us, we need each other to accomplish something. Yes, we can accomplish within our own selves, but if we help each other, then we can accomplish more. Okay, much. Okay. Example of common conflicts in schools. Number 1, roommates disagreements. So, especially kapag may mga boarding house, something like that. On the first day of entering into a room, after introductions, it is important that you come up with the house rules. No? So like duty roster, using another person's items or exiles, etc. And because you all are grown-ups, there is no need of including punishment, even though punishment may also be included. As for me, no, number one yan sa atin mga teachers, na as we, and that is very basic, no, instructions. As we begin the class, there should always be a introductions and a house rules. So what you want to expect your students, their behavior inside your classrooms, no? So all those rules must be given before the class begins. No, as for us mga masteral teachers, no, kailangan pa ba natin ng punishments? I'm not sure. Sir Ledesma would give us punishment kapag sino ang late a drop na that is very harsh, no, something like. I hope it is not like that. But this is really for the young students, no. Even in college, we have these rules. 7 absences, you are considered drops, something like that. If you don't pass this, and you will get this failing grade. So something like, and in the high school, clean the room, something like all of those things. Oh, they're very important. Sorry. Now, communication is very, very important, as one may be doing a mistake without knowing. So as good roommate, you should inform him so he understands. Note, not just informing and keeping quiet. You should inform and give alternative. So, pag mag-inform tayo, hindi lang naman yung okay, I inform. But of course, there should be alternative. If you could not do it, then there should be a reason, and this is how you need to do it. Cite for an example, in this what we called modern class that we have. Because of pandemic, we have these online classes. We have modules, and we are also having the online. Now, there are some students who could not really attend online class. So they ask, sir, what can we do? Okay, what can we do? Because we could not really avail, or we could not really attend to the online class for the signals or for the gadgets. We are in the mountain area, so we could not really, how we can cope up with the points. So I gave them an alternative. I told them, okay, it's okay if you could not really, but make sure that you answer properly your modules. No, you answer properly, clearly. Don't left anything that is unanswered. In that case, then let us see, no, as long as you answered it properly. So something like that. There would always be alternative. I know that rules must be rules, but there are sometimes an exemptions. That is what we call exemptions. No, we supposed not to be very harsh in dealing with it. Okay. Now, student strikes. Oh, maraming student nag-strike, especially UPs or other, not really happening in WEMSU or in universities that we have here in Zamboanga, but in other universities there are student strike. I'm not familiar if there is student strike happening in Zamboanga. I'm not really sure. Okay. First, students should understand that violent strike that leads to destructions of property has never and will never, even in a million years to come, be a perfect way to getting whatever you need. As evidence in all schools that have destroyed property in the name of striking, what admin simply did is to suspend all students indefinitely, then find students when they return. And at the end, whatever students were demonstrating about shall all have been forgotten about. even when the issue that leads to strike was genuinely. So again, it is important to remind the students, no, although they have the best point, the best options, but if they make a strike and destroy government properties, then uh, it could not help them, you know. At the end of the day, they will still the ones suffered it. That is why I think why we could not see students striking in Zamboanga, because they knew already the consequences. So, but I think this is not this is rare in Zamboanga, but in UP it is not rare. But you could not hear them when they have their strike that they destroyed government properties. Otherwise, it is a violation against the law, right? So, dealing with issues that if not handled correctly in due time may lead to strike. So, that is why for us educators, for us teachers, when there are issues that are being thrown to us, thrown to the school, then we need to address them as fast as possible. Otherwise, it can lead and enkindle a strike that is worst, no? That is worst. And luckily, our educators here in Zamboanga are, or our schools, or all the schools here in Zamboanga are keen to it in answering all the questions that is happening in the system or in the schools. No, that is why there is no much strike is happening. The final solution will not always be the way you envisioned it, but all in all, the solution is always the best for the development of an institution where you as a students are included. No, so of course, some solutions are good, some are not really good, but at the end of the day, it will let us grow ourselves, and also the institution will grow in itself. Because in all those solutions that was being done, there would always be a lesson learned, right? In all that's normal. In every mistake that we committed, at the end of the day, we learn something from it, right? So that's it. Now, conflict in a school can range from petty annoyance that doesn't disrupt academic schedules to full-scale confrontation, disrupting the whole institutions. So, petty annoyance, konting suntukan lang, no? When I was in WEMSU before, there is this group, two groups, no, they fight. I think that's I forgot the that they fight, and they even destroyed some of the bottles in canteens they throw, and they something like there is a riot happening inside. So that conflict, that is more, that is it disrupt the academic schedules. Because of that, there are some classes that are being suspended, no, kasi hindi na makontrol. During those times, I was working in a canteen, as in pumapasok sila sa canteen, batuhan ng mga bote, something like. So that is more disrupting, no. And as you can, if you hear it before, there is one being shot dead, and that also disrupt the academic schedules. So something like that. So, but there are also issues like noise or something like something that's commonly we can find in schools. No. Handling conflict is a skill that anyone can develop by just taking time and listening to conflict parties without making assumptions about what other people might be thinking or feeling. It is the way conflict is handled that makes the outcome positive or negative. So it it would always depend on us on how we deal or we handle conflict. If we deal it rightly, then the outcome will be positive. Now, if we handled it wrongly, then for sure the result would be negative. No, so conflict can create a good learning experience. If handled ineffectively, conflict can quickly escalate physical and emotional violence. No, as for me, when I was a new teacher assigned in Good Shepherd, I was assigned as what do you call that? Student disciplinarian, and so far as when I was there, I was able to handle all this conflict positively. No, marami nagsuntukan, magreklamo, suntukan. Aside from that, nagsabunutan ng buhok, iyakan kay nag-aaway sa boyfriend, something like that. Guard versus parents, something like complain. So luckily I was able to handle them properly. So something like that. But if I was not able to handle it properly, you will just realize that when they go outside the campus, they box each other. But luckily, during those times of mine as their disciplinarian, that doesn't happen. I don't hear that after I deal with the conflict within them, they would not fight. They did not, or they did not even fight outside. Something like it would be on how we deal with them, okay, positively. Now, effective implementations of conflict management strategies requires value skills and abilities for addressing conflict. Now, the first one would be orientation skills. In orientation skills, including values, beliefs, attitudes that are compatible with effective conflict management. They include understanding on values and beliefs, understanding how beliefs about justice and respect affect how we deal with conflict. So orientation, we orient our students about the different opinions that we have, the different faith that we have, the belief that we have, the values that we have. We came from different backgrounds. That is why we need to respect each other. No, something like. So we build them the respect that they need to. Okay? The next one would be perception skills. So the first one, orientation skills. We orient that in our school, it is not only a Catholic or a Muslim schools, but it's a mixture. In Zamboanga, it's a mixture, no, of people. So there would expectation that there would a lot of what we called beliefs. Okay, so we need to respect each beliefs. Now, perception skills include the understanding that conflict lies not in objective reality, but in the perceptions that individuals have of that situations or circumstances. Sa perception skills, we need to let our students know to understand that each of us, we have our own opinions. Each of us, we have our own capabilities. No, that is why we need to respect and accept each of our opinions, so that there would no quarrels, there would no misunderstandings, I mean, will occur. Next would be emotional skills. Now, in emotional skills include behaviors to manage emotions and feelings such as anger, frustrations, hurt, fears, confusions, and etc. So recognizing one's emotions, recognizing others' emotions are two strategically express emotions, able to control negative emotions, angers, relaxations, techniques. So, able to talk about emotions rather than acting them out. No? So, in emotional skills, we let our students handle their emotions properly. Hindi kay basta-basta na lang ilabas yung emotions. Galit ako, okay, ganito. No! They supposed to understand how to deal with their emotions. Okay? And how to handle them appropriately, properly, so that they will not commit mistake, and at the end of the day they will regret for what they did. Okay, especially anger. No. The next is communication skills. What is communication skills? Include listening and speaking, which allows for more effective exchange of facts and feelings. They include listening, using of non-defensive language. So in communication skills, we should tell our students to use proper words, no? Because remember, words are very powerful.